If you have already watched this introductory information, you can skip ahead no more than 7 minutes. Hello, welcome. I am predicting that singer-songwriter Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. This time-stamped email proves that this prediction that Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025 has been known since November 9th. We can see here the timestamp November 9th, 2024. On November 8th, 2024, we received the relevant prophetic signs related to Paul Simon. And as I wrote right here, God was pointing to November 8th ahead of time because Simon's death will point to Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. And this is the reason why Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. In short, the date 8:1 and 11:8 hint at Revelation 8:1 in the Bible, which describes a period of silence that was observed in heaven. Paul Simon's first hit was Sound of Silence. As I wrote right here, it is exactly 38 weeks between November 8th and August 1st, 2025, and Paul Simon is predicted to die at the age of 83, for which 38 weeks hints at. A dirty bomb is a conventional explosive that uses radioactive material. I am predicting that 3 dirty bombs will explode in New York City, in Times Square, Penn Station, and Grand Central Station. There will then be a massive evacuation from Manhattan Island. I am predicting that these 3 dirty bombs will explode on either August 30th or September 4th. I am also predicting that a dirty bomb will explode in the port of Los Angeles on September 4th. I am predicting that Tehran, Iran, will be nuked by the US or possibly Israel on September 7th, 2025. This will obviously be in response to the dirty bombs that are predicted to explode in New York City. I am predicting that Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom will die in a plane crash in St. Louis as they are traveling from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles in Busch Stadium in St. Louis on August 2nd, 2028. This will be during the predicted presidential campaign of Gavin Newsom. As a result of Gavin Newsom's death, Michelle Obama will become the Democrat Party's presidential nomination. Michelle Obama will, quote unquote, win the election over J.D. Vance on November 7th, 2028, and will become the president on January 20th, 2029. Donald Trump is predicted to run as J.D. Vance's vice president. This scheme to overcome the 22nd Amendment will backfire and inspire Michelle Obama and Barack Obama to run on the ticket with Barack Obama as Michelle Obama's vice president. She will then step down and Barack Obama will become the president again. It is predicted that there will be a massive Mary apparition on the beach in Rio, Brazil on April 24th, 2029. It is now recognized that there will be 2 massive Mary apparitions on the beach in Rio. The first of the 2 is predicted to be on March 22nd, 2029. These predicted Mary apparitions will not be secretive. They will be mainstream, worldwide news. Like all Mary apparitions in history, including at Lourdes, Guadalupe, and Fatima, this Mary apparition will be a demon pretending to be Mary. It is predicted that on April 26th, 2029, the key will open the bottomless pit and fallen angels will cross over into the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the fifth trumpet judgment that is described in Revelation chapter 9, when the demonic realm collides with the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to demons pretending to be aliens. The demons pretending to be aliens will claim to be here to help us with our nuclear weapons. It is predicted that Pope Francis will be resurrected from the grave on April 26th, 2029. And it is possible that on this day, Pope Francis will announce that aliens have arrived and have made him the ambassador for the world. This will immediately give Pope Francis, the Antichrist, supreme power over governments of the world. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to a zombie pandemic and the masses becoming demonically possessed that will be facilitated through the thing, which is the mark of the Antichrist and 5G frequencies. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the coming genocide politicide in America. The resurrection rapture event will occur on Pentecost on May 27th, 2029. On September 11th, 2029, there will be a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth in the Indian Ocean. The greatest seismic effect of this will be felt on the other side of the globe, which is North America, and this will trigger an eruption of Yellowstone volcano and will cause the volcano in the Canary Islands to collapse into the Atlantic Ocean and send a mega tsunami towards the east coast. It will also trigger the collapse of the Hoover Dam, which will cause a water panic in California, and many other devastating earthquakes. The day of the Lord, the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, Judgment Day, will be at the end of 2031. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. All right, welcome. This video is predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. In this video, I will explain how God has used the golfer Tiger Woods and Scottie Scheffler, the current #1 golfer in the world, who just won the British Open, is a prophetic sign and a story that God is using to point to Paul Simon's death on August 1st. It is amazing. But first of all, this email here was composed on July 20th, as we can see here, and this proves that this prediction is being made ahead of time, as does the post date of the video you are watching. And that'll prove that the information I am going to relay to you will be true. In other words, it will prove the prediction that what I'll be saying is from God. This is a prophecy from God. And that is the purpose for the reasoning for how the prediction is known. It would be one thing for God to simply tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, tell the world that such and such is going to happen on such and such date. But really, what good would that do? Besides, obviously, providing more proof of the God of the Bible. But there's an already overwhelming amount of proof for the God of the Bible. The reason for the prediction, and I know far better than anyone the reason for the prediction, is to prove the things that I'll be saying in the video, including the analysis, but more importantly, and far more importantly, the controversial things that I'll be saying in these videos. And I don't know what thing that I'll be saying that will be controversial in this particular video, and maybe nothing actually, because this will be a short video. But I just want to say that in general. And that is the reason for the prediction. And make no mistake, I know far better than anyone the reason for the prediction. But this prediction that Paul Simon will die on August 1st has been known since November of 2024. And the skeptic will say, well, this guy, he must have made a video for every day of the year predicting that Paul Simon will die and he would eventually get lucky. Well, that's crazy. And a person that believes that is, in fact, crazy. And whether they're clinically crazy and need to be, need help, need psychological help, is not the point. The point is that there is a psychological phenomenon that makes someone completely irrational when it comes to God and when it comes to evidence for God. It's really an astounding thing. The skeptic, the agnostic atheist, will not accept any evidence, and there's an overwhelming amount of evidence. There will be no excuse for them on Judgment Day, and they even know that. Subconsciously, unconsciously, I believe, is reality, a fact, is that they all know that there is a God. They, on this level, have told themselves that there isn't because spiritually, deep down, psychologically, they do not want there to be a God. Anyway, the core belief of the agnostic atheist religion, and it is a dogmatic religion that requires far more faith than the belief in Christianity, and I mean far more blind faith, is that there is no evidence for God. That is the core belief of that religion. And there's something in psychology called belief perseverance, which shows that when a person is confronted with information that contradicts their worldview, they block it out. And so that's what the agnostic atheist does, because their worldview is, we cannot know if there is or if there isn't a God, because there is no evidence. The agnostic atheist says, well, there might be a God, but there is no evidence and no one knows. First of all, that's extremely arrogant because many people know, including myself. I know that there is a God as much as I know that the sky is blue. Okay? But for them, that's their religion. And they have their priests in their religion. There's all kinds of parallels. It is a religion. It's not neutral. Every worldview, furthermore, is a religion. That's what a worldview is. And so anyway, they have belief perseverance, but it is remarkable how irrational an agnostic atheist is in general. And so they will say something like, well, I must have made a video for every day of the year. That's ridiculous. Paul Simon, furthermore, could live another 10 years. Okay? But the point that I'm making here is that the reason that I know this in advance is profound and could not have been concocted in a human imagination. The reasoning that I'll be explaining in a minute can only have come from God. It's that amazing. It's that interesting. There's no way that I have the imagination to come up with such a thing, let alone hundreds of these things for the date August 1st. Maybe I'm exaggerating with hundreds, but, well, okay. So let's begin with what I wrote for this particular prophetic story that God is telling, which is Scottie Scheffler's fourth major win. He won the British Open. British Open is one of the four. That's another four, actually, because there are four majors. Interesting. And incidentally, what's interesting, too, is that the final day of the one tournament that Scottie Scheffler has not won, that's a major, will be next year on his 30th birthday. And so I am assuming that he will win his last remaining major on that day, because that'll be symbolic in prophetic too, the 30th birthday, because of the 30 years in the Bible regarding a king. And so anyway, there are four majors. Scottie Scheffler won his fourth major win, and he won it by 4 strokes, and that was part of the story. The news story was how easily he won, which highlighted the fact that he won by 4 strokes. It wasn't 5 strokes. He didn't easily win by 3 strokes. It was 4 strokes. It was his 4th major win, and also it was Scheffler's 4th tournament win of this season. That's 3 fours, right? He won his 4th major, which was also his 4th tournament win of the season, and he won this tournament by 4 strokes. In the interview afterwards, he was again compared with Tiger Woods because the story before his win at the beginning of the tournament was comparing him to Tiger Woods, and he made comments on this subject right at the beginning of the tournament, and then he further commented on the further media's comparing him to Tiger Woods after he had won. And so his comment after he had won, Scheffler said regarding Tiger Woods that he has only reached, quote unquote, 1/4 of the major wins as Woods has. There's another 4. And that was the story. It was about how Scheffler said he had only won 1/4 of the major wins, tournament wins that Woods had won. Okay, so his 4th major win by 4 strokes and his 4th win of the season is 4 + 4 + 4 days before Simon's predicted death. And the reason for that is because God is associating the number 4 with Paul Simon in his signs. I'll explain. Simon is symbolic of musical key. He was born in 41, which is the equivalent in simple English gematria of the word key. A = 1, B = 2, C = 3. And it is keys that open a door. All right? And a door in God is symbolic of the number 4 because the 4th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and Simon is Jewish, is the symbol for a door. And by the way, that's the etymological root of the word door in English. It comes from delta, which is the 4th Greek letter, which comes from dalat, the 4th Hebrew letter, which is a symbol for a door. Keys open doors. The name Scheffler means bailiff, and bailiffs are known for their keys to the jail cells. That's what bailiffs, they're like the key guy, right? And Paul Simon is known for music composition, which is known for keys. Also, the key will open the door to the bottomless pit. That's the reason for all of this. It's Revelation chapter 9, the key that will open the door to the bottomless pit, which is part of the 7 trumpet judgments. And demons will cross the bridge into the earthly realm. So that's why Simon's biggest hit was Bridge Over Troubled Water, which was his 5th album, incidentally, and the last album with Garfunkel. And the bridge over from the bottomless pit after the door is opened is the 5th trumpet. And a bridge is also the same symbolism in God's signs as a door. So that's why Paul Simon is associated with the number 4. There's also another reason why Simon is associated with the number 4, and that is because God is using Simon to point to the book of Amos, chapter 1, long story. I'll explain in another video. And that first chapter repeats the idiom in Hebrew for 3 transgressions and for 4. It's an idiom that means the tolerable limit of sin has been reached and judgment is now unavoidable. This is communicating this is the case. Simon's death will communicate that this is the case for America, which is why Simon's hit is named America. He has a hit named America. Okay, so that's why we have all these 4s, 4 + 4 + 4 days before Simon's predicted death. Incidentally, that will be on the first day of the 4 + 4th month. Okay? I think that's clear now, right? Scheffler won his 4th major, his 4th tournament of the year by 4 strokes, 4 + 4 + 4 days before Simon's predicted death, because Simon is synonymous with the number 4 in God's signs. And the key and everything, right? I just explained it all, right? That's what Simon's for. It's not only a door because of bridge over troubled water, but also a key. And that's why Simon was born in the year 41, for example, and musical keys. And why Simon isn't only a singer, but also a composer, which uses music keys. Okay. Now, in the 18th chapter of 1 Kings, 4 plus 4 plus 4 large jars of water are poured on Elijah's wooden altar. After winning his fourth tournament of the season, by winning his fourth major tournament by 4 strokes, in other words, 4-4-4, Scheffler was compared with Woods. Because, okay, and that's why the wooden altar. This isn't the first time that God has used Tiger Woods as a hint at the wooden altar of Elijah. Now, one of the reasons why Scheffler and Woods were compared, not the only reason after this tournament, but one of the interesting reasons, which even the news articles said was an interesting coincidence, is that both of these players took 1,197 days to win their fourth major tournament after winning their first major tournament. What a coincidence. H 1197, which is the 1197th word in the Hebrew concordance, is the word that means to burn, to kindle, to set fire to. That is astounding because of what I just said, which is this parallel with Elijah's wooden altar. Because if you know the story, Elijah called down fire from heaven to set ablaze the kindle, to burn, to set fire to the wooden altar. And that's why Woods took 1,197 days to win his fourth major tournament after winning his first. It's amazing. And that's why Scheffler also took 1,197 days to win his fourth tournament of the year by 4 strokes, because of the 4 plus 4 plus 4 large jars of water that were poured on Elijah's wooden altar, as in Tiger Woods. Do you see now that this cannot be from my imagination? When this prediction comes to pass, it will prove that the Bible is the inspired word of God. If you are an agnostic atheist, what you need to do on August 1st, when this prediction comes to pass, is get on your knees and start crying. Why will you be crying? Because you have been rejecting God all of your life, and you are in dire straits. You are about, speaking of fire, you are about to go to the fire. Now, having said that, I use this opportunity to clarify something, because I realize it is a stumbling block, and rightly so, for many people. People will not be tormented in the fire of hell forever, contrary to what a lot of Christians will tell you. The Bible doesn't say that. In fact, the Bible speaks of a second death after that person is in the fire. They will pay for their sins. They will go to the fire, but they won't be tormented forever. They will just cease to exist after a certain point. And that's the Bible, not eternal torture. All right. Now, where was I here? There's another confirmation. Fire from heaven burned up Elijah's wooden altar. And then after, judgment came on the 400 false prophets of Asherah. All right? And so that's the story. The whole point of the burning of the wooden altar was to prove that the false prophets' altar could not be burned. They also attempted to call down fire from heaven from their God, but were unsuccessful because they don't worship the true God. And Elijah proved to those who were watching which God was the true God, the God of the Bible. So it was 400 false prophets after the 4 plus 4 plus 4 large jars of water were poured on the wooden altar of Elijah. Now, Paul Simon's fourth and last child born is named Gabriel Elijah. From what I understand, it's not even like Elijah is his middle name. I could be wrong, but it's Gabriel Elijah as in like maybe hyphenated or something, but it's Gabriel Elijah Simon. But regardless, even if it was his middle name, it wouldn't really matter because it's his fourth and last child. And that's another confirmation of the 4 here. Again, Paul Simon's associated with the number 4 in God's signs. But we have this use of Elijah here and the 4 plus 4 plus 4 large jars of water. And that's why this is amazing beyond words, because what I'm saying is that Scotty Scheffler's 4th major win and 4th win of the season by 4 strokes connects to the death of Paul Simon through this Elijah story, and Simon's 4th child is named Elijah. Simon will die on August 1st in order to point to Revelation 8:1 and the judgment that followed the sound of silence in heaven, which is described in Revelation 8:1. Following that, which is a warning of the judgment that follows that, which is the 7 trumpet judgments, which incidentally is why Paul Simon's most recent album is 7 Psalms, why he will die on his Quiet Celebration tour. It'll also hint at Sound of Silence, Quiet Celebration, and also why Simon's big hit, Late in the Evening, which is synonymous with its heavy use of trumpets. Okay, with this win on July 20th, Scheffler entered his 115th consecutive week ranked as the number 1 golfer in the world. His 4th major win was 1,197 days after his first major win, which hints at the exact number of days between Woods' first and 4th major wins. The number 1,197 is the 1,000th composite number. The 1,000th composite number confirms the relevance of the 115 weeks at number 1. This is also astounding beyond words because the significance of 115 weeks is that God is pointing to Amos chapter 1, which has 15 verses. And Simon will die exactly 115 weeks after the release of his 7 Psalms album. It's amazing. I mean, I'm just about to shout into the microphone here. I had to restrain myself from shouting any louder there. I mean, what can I mean, this was already known before this prophetic sign. It was already known that Simon will die exactly 115 weeks after the release of 7 Psalms, which incidentally is an album that's theme is of crossing over the bridge into the afterlife. Okay, and then we have this sign, 4 plus 4 plus 4 days before Simon's death, and this sign points to 115 weeks because Scheffler has spent 115 weeks consecutively at the number 1 position in the golf world, which is hinted at with this 1,000th composite number. And this is all because God is pointing through Simon's death to Amos chapter 1, which has 15 verses. And by the way, that's also the album 7 Psalms was released 4 years, 4 months, and 4 days after Simon had his prophetic dream in which a voice instructed him to make the album and name it 7 Psalms. And the date of that dream was January 15th, 115. And in the interviews in which the journalist will go to his studio, Simon shows them the framed piece of paper on the wall that he wrote on after the dream. And the paper has a date. We know the date of the dream. Okay, so that's why the dream occurred on the date 115, because God is pointing, in a long story, it's explained in another video, God is pointing to Amos 115. And essentially, though, as I'm saying right here, and I've already said, it's because of this phrase that's repeated in the first chapter, for 3 transgressions and for 4, which is an idiom, again, that means the sin's tolerable limit of the society, the nation has been reached, and now judgment, destruction is unavoidable, which is what Simon's death will be a warning of. So this phrase is an idiom in Hebrew, and the 4, and therefore 4, symbolizes the tolerable limit of transgressions having been exceeded and unavoidable judgment and destruction. This is also why Scheffler won his fourth major by 4 strokes and his fourth tournament win of the season, 4 + 4 + 4 days before Simon's predicted death on 8/1, the first day of the 4 + 4th month. It's because it will point to this 4/4 idiom in Amos chapter 1, which has 15 verses. It's amazing beyond words. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Do not listen to or follow the example of most quote-unquote Christians. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, which most quote-unquote Christians ignore. Like Jesus, you must surrender your life. Put nothing ahead of Jesus, your Lord. Like Jesus, you must lay down your life so that you may live. As Jesus said, one must die first, like a kernel of wheat going into the ground, in order to then grow and produce fruit. And like Jesus said, one must produce fruit, or else like a branch or a tree not producing fruit, they will be thrown into the fire. Jesus was speaking to quote-unquote Christians when he said this. One must die the self in order to be born again. And like Jesus said, one must be born again to enter the kingdom. Like Jesus, you must sacrifice your life for the sake of the coming kingdom. It means to do work that involves some form of sacrifice and risk. To have faith does not mean to intellectually agree. You need to demonstrate your faith through taking action. To have faith means to trust in God's promises. Taking action demonstrates trust and fear of the Lord. The primary reason that the wrath of God is coming upon America is quote-unquote Christians that do not get what I have just explained. The only reason a Christian is alive is in order to help other people become Christians and make it to the kingdom. Do not be deceived by those on the political left claiming to be quote-unquote Christians. There is no such thing as a Christian on today's political progressive left. Jesus said, "Do not think I have come to abolish or change any bit of the law or the prophets of the Old Testament Bible." In other words, the God of the Old Testament Bible is the exact same God of the New Testament Bible. It is essential that you learn about the God of the Bible and his ways. The God of the Old Testament Bible is looking to see who will fear him, and to fear God is not the same thing as quote-unquote revering or honoring God. Through Christ's ransom payment, a Christian is someone who has been redeemed and freed from slavery to sin and Satan. In response, a true Christian recognizes that their life in this world does not belong to them, and they become a willing slave to Jesus for the sake of the kingdom. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold. Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, "Jesus loves you," unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. You can download the file from the website. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, asteroidprediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the Odyssey.com or Rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.